Hey guys, I want to make a video about the 4-piece gameplay rotation for Arcane in 10.1 since I know a lot of people have been asking about it, especially compared to my previous video. As I mentioned in the previous video, that one was mostly tailored to people playing with 2-piece if that was your preferred playstyle. You could actually still play that playstyle with 4-piece, it's just not as good as the actual 4-piece gameplay. I don't remember the exact number, but I think the actual 4-piece gameplay is 5% better than the old way to play Arcane where you have a big burn, shifting power, mini burn. Um, yeah, this rotation is a lot more demanding on your uptime, but personally I like it infinitely more. It's way more fun for me, and also does a lot more damage. It's more satisfying as well, to be honest. But yeah, so first before we get into it, I kind of have this little reader over here that shows the general flow of the rotation. So at the very top here we have just the opener. So you only do this at the pull, right? Where you're going to evo at minus 7.5 seconds before the timer, and then you're gonna cast Arcane Blast Orb before the pull starts, right? So when 2 seconds left is on the timer. This will give you 4 charges, right? Evo gives 1, Arcane Blast gives 1, Orb gives 2. So this will be 4 charges. You only do this on the pull. Once you're actually in the fight, your cadence is a big burn, which we'll go over what the big burn is. After the big burn, you're going to shifting, so pretty similar to before a little bit. And then you're going to separate your mini burn a little bit. We're going to do a mini burn in a way where it's Radiant Spark and Touch of the Magi only, no Rune of Power. And then we're going to Rune after that by itself. So you might ask yourself, okay, well, why do we solo Rune? Why not just combine these two, right? Surely Rune of Power will be off cooldown, and well, why wouldn't I just use it? And the reason is because, well, Rune of Power isn't off cooldown. If you recall in the past, the way our rotation worked was where you put our Rune, our Radiant, and then you do your, Arcane Blast, Arcane Blast, Arcane Blast, Nether Tempest, Surge, and then you go into it. The thing now is that our Surge is longer duration, it's 18 seconds, for 45% damage, which is the strongest, damage amplifier in our entire kit, right? Even more than Rune of Power. And after that ends, you get a 25% damage amp, which is our third strongest damage amplifier, right after Surge and Rune. So better than Touch, better than Radiant, etc. Or at least comparable, because, things like Arcane Echo and whatnot. But that second, the 25% buff after Surge expires is also 18 seconds long. So we kind of have this 36-second long Surge of Power window, so to speak, right? And because of that, it really makes us think, okay, I have this really strong window of 36 seconds. Sorry, yeah. Why am I wasting 8 seconds of Rune by casting Rune, 4 spells, and then Surge and putting a new Rune down? Right? That seems like a waste. So instead, we actually don't do that first Rune. We actually delay that first Rune until later. And that later is essentially after Touch of the Magi explodes, the very first Touch of the Magi. So I'll show you what I mean. So our big burn is this. Right? We do our opener, like I said, you don't see the evocation obviously, but you see Arcane Blast and Orb. You double lust, pot, whatever. So your opener, or your big burn, sorry, goes Radiant Spark, Nether Tempest, Arcane Surge, and then you pop your Mana Gem Barrage macro. This is pretty much mandatory, you really should get this. Where it's your Trinket, if you have Iridius Fragment, Mana Gem, and Barrage, all at the same time. And you should have a fake Q weak or whatever. Make sure it's working good. Check my Discord Arcane channel pin if you haven't already about where to get it and stuff. How to set it up, very easy. But yeah, after you barrage, you want to touch the Magi. It's pretty important to not touch the Magi too early. You definitely want to try and milk the duration, right? You don't want your touch to be 0.01 seconds after your barrage. Definitely try and milk it a little bit, and we'll return to this point a bit later. But after you've applied this, we're going to use up our Radiant Spark first, right? So we still have Radiant Spark if we look at the number count. So Radiant Spark applies, it has 0 stacks. You cast Surge, that's 1 stack. You cast Barrage, that's 2 stacks. You cast Arcane Blast 3, Arcane Blast 4. So now you're max stacks. So now you do one more Arcane Blast, and now you're done. After you finish this last Radiant Spark stack, you're going to just go into our regular Touch of the Magi rotation, right? Where you Arcane Missile, Blast Blast, Missile, Blast Blast, Missile, Blast Blast. And remember, we don't want to full channel our missiles anymore. You want to get into your Blast ASAP. So after you press Missile, just spam your Arcane Blast key. Don't need to do some cancelling, don't need to do any weird stuff, just press your Arcane Blast key. key. And we keep doing that until Touch of the Magi has like 1 point something global cooldowns remaining. Um, when you get to that point, you want to Presence of Mind, Arcane Blast, right? Nothing crazy. The reason I specifically say you want to do it at 1 point something, not like 0 point something, is because ideally our second Presence of Mind charge is the one that actually snipes Touch of the Magi. The reason this is important is because Presence of Mind only goes on cooldown once the second charge is consumed. And if you only use Presence of Mind to like the first charge to snipe the end, then you won't get your second charge out unless you do it after Rune, in which case you're delaying Presence of Mind cooldown, or you get it before your Rune, in which case you're delaying your Rune. Not good. I really recommend Presence of Mind just doing it a bit early, one GCD early, and so that your second one snipes. If you want to get desperate, technically you can snipe the last one with one charge and then just cancel Aura, the Presence of Mind, but that's more keybinds and I don't recommend it. Just do this, it's easier. Obviously this is like assuming no movement. Presence of Mind should always be used for movement instead. The moment our Touch of the Magi explodes, right, not when our rune expires, when our Touch of the Magi explodes, see 5.48 seconds plus 12 is 17 or 16, whatever. As soon as our Touch of the Magi explodes, we're going to put down our Rune of Power, right? You're going to put down your Rune of Power, and you're going to continue the same thing. Missile, Blast, Blast, Missile, Blast, Blast, and you keep doing that. So you're basically chaining back-to-back runes, but there may be like a 1 second gap just to wait for Touch of the Magi to finish. Once that Rune of Power is done, then you're going to go into your Shifting Power. So just to bring this back up, this was your big burn, right? Your big burn is like the whole surge with like the double Rune of Power thing, right? That's just your big burn. So it lasts quite a while, as you can tell. 32 seconds, and I started at 2 seconds, right? 30 seconds long. After you're done with your big burn, you're going to go straight into a Shifting. You might have to do a GCD or two until you can Radiant Spark. But our next step is basically to do our Radiant Spark and Touch of the Magi. The same kind of opener here. We're going to do Radiant Spark, Nether Tempest, Barrage. So it's the same thing as the Big Burn, except we don't have the Arcane Surge cast, right? Doesn't matter. Radiant Spark, Nether Tempest, Barrage, Touch of the Magi. Once again, try and delay it. And then you're just going to use up your Radiant Spark, right? So this applied the first stack, this applied second stack, applied third, applied fourth, consumed the fourth. Once you're done with your Radiant Spark, you're still in Touch of the Magi, obviously, so you're going to Missile, Blast, Blast. I didn't get any procs here, unlucky. But you're just going to keep doing Missile, Blast, Blast, and keep that going. This Presence of Mind you can use at the end of your Touch of the Magi here. Once again, same rule, try and use it ASAP to snipe. Once that Touch of the Magi is done, then you're going to put your Solo Rune down, right? Once your Solo Rune down, it's the same thing. Missile, Blast, Blast, Missile, Blast, Blast, Missile, Blast, Blast. In Double Lust, you might realize that your mana is a bit rough here. Something that might help is just kind of pumping out Nether Tempests a bit more during your Double Lust. What I like to do sometimes is I like to put a Nether Tempest up here if I don't Presence of Mind. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But if I don't, you can put Nether Tempest after the Rune of Power. You could just, finish your Rune and only Nether Tempest at the very end. Obviously, you can always just Barrage and then Orb and then, Blast, Blast, whatever. It's fine. Yeah. And you're going to keep going until your Touch of the Magi is either 10 seconds remaining or 8 seconds remaining on its cooldown. The rule is if you're 10 seconds remaining is fine. If you're not try and delay till 8 seconds. And that's basically it. That's the whole rotation. Just going to do the same thing. After you Evocate, straight away you're going to go into your Radiant Spark, your Nether Tempest, Surge, Barrage, Touch. Your Barrage macro with the Mana Gem and the Trinkets. You use up 3 Arcane Blast, right? Use up your Radiant Spark, and then just repeat. Palm at the end. It's the same exact thing, just repeating over and over again. Touch of the Magi explodes, you Rune of Power. Yeah, you go into it. Shifting Power, Radiant Spark. Yeah. It's the exact same cadence over and over and over again. It's really fun because it's quite active and it's not as boring. And you're kind of doing damage all the time. Yeah. One thing that helps also in regards to this rotation is I ran a couple of sims, and this is what worked for me. You should sim your own character, but from what I've heard, for most people, this is what sims highest, and frankly, it's the most enjoyable to play. Mana Adept instead of Resonance on pure single targets only. Okay, every time there's Cleave, you always take Resonance and Arcane Cleave. But if on pure single target, Mana Adept is good because it gives you more mana. You're going to Barrage at least twice in your rotation, right, per phase, which is an extra 16% mana. And that's not counting the fact that you're casting a barrage instead of like an Arcane Blast or something, right? So quite nice. It's like 16 to 20% more mana. And that's assuming you only barrage twice. If you barrage a third time, obviously it's like even more. So very handy. Also, you'll notice that sorry, my throat's getting a little dry. You'll notice that I dropped Arcane Bombardment for an extra point in missiles. And the reason I do this is because since we're not using our Arcane Barrage on the last stack of the Radiant Spark, it doesn't gain as much damage anymore. If you look at my damage breakdown on this fight, for example, this is my Rash Shock on the first kill. My Arcane Barrage is very low on my damage done, and that's normal. Missiles is quite high up. So 10% damage on missiles versus like double damage on barrage and execute. Like what? Execute is like here, let's say. How much does my barrage do? 268k. Double that, so it's another 268k. Missiles out damages that just in this phase alone, not to mention the entire fight, right? So, you know, the Arcane Barrage execute talent, not that hot. Obviously, like I said, this is mostly an execute, mostly for single target. You should play around with your sim, figure out what you want to run. Don't worry about these talents here. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it's just mana gem, right? Prodigy Savant. Yeah. So I'm going to show you a VOD to show you a visual representation now. You know, if you've gotten what you want out of this video, you know, feel free to dip. Thank you for watching. But I'm going to show a visual representation just for those who are visual learners. Do our open and right, Radiant Spark, Nether Tempest, Surge, Barrage with the macro, Touch, Blast, 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 right? Ease up your Radiant Spark, and then you go into your stuff. Nothing crazy. You can see my Nether precisions here, the green circles. And see, I have 1 point something GCDs left in my Touch of the Magi, so now I'm going to Presence of Mind, Arcane Blast, and then I go straight into my rune, right? The moment Touch of the Magi is done, straight into my rune, and I get quite a few GCDs off of it. And yeah, you're rotating, right? Blast, blast, missile, nothing crazy. The moment my rune of power is done, straight away, shifting power, right? You'll notice in Double Lust, you won't have your Touch of the Magi ready to go straight away. Typically, it's when Touch is like 2 seconds remaining that you want to start your your Radiant Spark, Nether Tempest, Barrage, Touch, right? 2 seconds remaining. I don't have that yet, so you'll see me kind of just spend some GCDs here to wait for it. Now it's ready. Nether Tempest, Barrage, Touch, yeah. You just go into it again. You kind of really have to learn like the timings of when you can start your ramp, and it's okay, it'll take a few times to practice, but typically you just have to think about how many spells do I have to cast before my Touch of the Magi, like I need to throw it, right? Radiant Spark is 1 spell, Nether Tempest is another, Barrage is a third, but we're gonna like Touch of the Magi pretty soon after Barrage, right? It's not on a GCD, so it's basically 2 GCDs. For the Arcane Surge variant, you know, there's 2 GCDs plus Arcane Surge, which is also kind of 2 GCDs, so it's like 4 seconds, right? 4 or 5 seconds. But yeah, you're just gonna go, you know, your rune. This is after my like second touch. I'm using up my rune. You'll notice my mana here is looking a little tight. So I'm just gonna barrage, right? I have an orb, it's fine. Just gonna blast, blast, missile. If I need, I can reapply Nether Tempest. I have Ice Nova if I need. You'll notice that your mana is a lot nicer here with Mana Adept. Touch of the Magi is 8 seconds. Send my Evocate. The moment Evocate is done, see my Surge is like ready. My Touch of the Magi is like 3 seconds remaining. I can go. Boom. Right? Same thing. 1, 2, 3. Missile. And yeah, just rinse and repeat. Right? Nothing crazy. Touch of the Magi's 1 GCD. Spend them. I had to blink here, but if I didn't have to blink, I would be applying my Rune of Power a second earlier. Get 1 extra spell out of it. Yeah. So you might ask yourself a few like, oh, what if you do this? What if you do that, right? Some people ask, why would you Rune of Power here? Like, why would you Rune of Power here? Why not just wait for Surge to be done? Is it really worth casting Rune of Power if a Surge is only 4 seconds remaining? The answer is yes, for a few reasons. One, after you Rune of Power, you will get 2 GCDs off, which make up for the value of casting Rune, right? But even for the fact that you don't make up 2 GCDs, like for example in this clip I didn't get 2 GCDs, right? I only got like 1.5 because of my blink. It doesn't matter because we need to put our rune on cooldown. Our timings are like pretty, you know, you kind of just need to like go. Delaying more than 1 or 2 seconds is not advisable because delaying this rune delays your next rune, right? Which is the one after your like touch, which is not really a great idea. It's not the end of the world if you delay it by 1 second, but it definitely throws your timings a little off because if you delay the next rune, then the one after that will also be delayed, right? Like this one here. It's not the worst thing ever, but yeah, it is worth casting Rune of Power. It has been thought about, as far as I know, at least. I mean, I've thought about it at least. It seems reasonable. Um, yeah, people will say, oh, well, do I delay my Radiant Spark and Touch for the rune? Why wouldn't I do that? If you do that, then the Radiant Spark and Touch will not be back in time for your big burn, right? We don't want to do that. You'll be in 0 mana for a lot longer. So, yeah, the rotation has been thought out, I promise. This is nothing crazy. People have been working on this for a while. Yeah, I mean, as you'll see, outside of Double Lust, mana management's completely fine. If I fast forward here even, my mana's at 40% and I'm about to evocate, right? And this is basically full single target for the most part. Like I'm moving, but like I'm managing my movement pretty well. So yeah, nothing to worry about for mana wise. As for stats, you know, nothing crazy changes. Crit Master is your best stats. Mastery is really good. Crit's really good. Versus meh. You probably want some, just sim your character, right? Haste is okay, you don't want too much haste. There's nothing crazy going on, just sim your character. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope that made sense. If there is any other questions anybody had, feel free to ask in my Discord. Please don't DM me because I'm busy. But I will answer the questions on Discord whenever I can. Main reason I ask not to DM is because when people DM, if I answer somebody, then nobody else will see that answer, and then somebody else will ask me the exact same question. It's less about me being annoyed and more about like, you know, me answering the same question 10 times instead of just one time on the Discord. But yeah, check the pins out, check the questions. You know, you guys know the stuff if you're on the Discord already. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope this made sense. Check out my kill videos when they're up. I'll be playing this rotation all the time. I started playing this on the one after Forgotten Experiments. I think it was actually this one then. So this video will be up not too long from now. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.